Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you join us from in the world. Welcome to Open Up, our live talk show. My name is RJ Horner, and I'm the host of Open Up, but I'm also the vice president for Voice of Men 360. So thank you for joining us this morning on behalf of myself and the Voice of Men 360 team. My name's Voice of Men 360 is a not-for-profit organization founded in 2020 and based in Toronto, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need in helping to step up and support our men and boys in overcoming their life challenges. We're part of International Men's Day, and International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years so far. And it's now represented in 90 plus countries around the world who join together and do various activities regularly. International Men's Day follows 6 pillars, which represent the overall well-being of men and boys, and we follow in their footsteps. So why is Open Up so important? Because we men do not open ourselves. We're not open with our hearts and willing to share our matters with people. And when we keep these within ourselves, they create undue emotional and ill health effects. So at some point, they're bound to explode and create undue situations. So we want to avoid that here. That's why we've created this open space and allow individuals to share their life journey through our platform. We aim to create awareness about the life challenges, struggles, and the overcomings that our men and boys have to go through in their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life are invited to participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this program. Open Up is on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We bring out individuals to each show and let them share their life experiences with you. Before I introduce our guest today, I'd like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. Views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not represent Voice of Men 360. Organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness to the issues men face and wish to overcome their life challenges. We're not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us info@voiceofmen360.org. So today I'm speaking with Linda Tilson. She's a business owner of Learn from Linda and is passionate about empowering people in their personal and professional settings. Linda believes success in life centers around a person's ability to build and nurture healthy relationships with themselves and others. Linda's a beacon, best known for coming up with incredible and actionable insights that are life challenging. Linda has a way of seeing pathways that are often hiding in plain sight and finds creative ways to help people leverage them using her 5-step light system. She guides individuals in leaning into and honoring the core belief that you have everything inside of you to start achieving success. In her transformational presence, people receive the positive energy required to create the confidence that empowers them to take action that powerfully move them forward. Welcome, Linda Tilson, to Open Up. And thank you for joining us this morning and being willing to share your life journey.
Thank you for having me. It's an excitement to be here today. The message that you have for boys and men to open up sings loudly to me, and it's a universal issue. And so I just really am excited to be here. I can't speak enough to that.
And I've just gotten to know you. I've connected with you online. I've just spoken to you first time this morning, a few minutes, and I can feel the energy that you're talking about. You certainly have a presence that helps people open up and be comfortable with you.
It's one of the values that I have is being able to feel safe enough wherever you are to be able to speak to the things that most matter to you. And that can be anywhere from how you're treated or want to be treated to what it is that you want to do in life. And so having that safe space is the place to start, but feeling into that space, knowing that you can show up in that way and having the skill set to be able to communicate powerfully the things that you want to share with other people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Because again, you know what, people, we created this open up space and we hope people are comfortable in being around and hearing from other people, but we don't create that connection, that energy, that comfort level that people may need in order to grow and step into that, right? So thank you for that. Now though, were you always this beacon of light? We like to go back as early as we can and learn about what made you you. Were you always this beacon of light as a young child? If not, how did we get into this path? Let's talk about you as a young child for a minute.
So the answer is yes. It's every bit a part of who I am. If
Wonderful.
anything, I was more of that quiet, shy presence. However, I always paid attention, and I still pay attention to the people environment around me. And just to set the stage, when I was in third grade, there was a situation that happened. There was this young girl that probably was more about the age of 13 or 14 that came to our school as a new student. I think she was from Cambodia. And what was interesting to me was that English was not her first language. She was older than the rest of us. So they placed her in a class where the students were so much younger. And that caused a lot of things. And then she never really vocalized it because, again, English was her second language. To top it off, she had also gone through major surgery. And so it was very visible. She had open heart surgery. And and so she had that scar that she wore, but it became so much more than those two things. I knowing that she needed to have someone that she could maybe talk to, but maybe couldn't have all the words. So a lot of the unsaid presence was important. And so I became her friend and we would spend time together. And I'm so glad that I did because of what happened in a lunchroom. Be also, being planted into the United States when you've been in a different country, the food is much different. And so I just remember we had an old style teacher that believed that when you came to the cafeteria, you were there to eat your lunch and you should eat all of it. And she tried to impress upon this young girl that she needed to eat her entire lunch. And the problem was this friend told me that when she ate different foods, it made her not settle well with her stomach. And so, this has been going on for a little bit. So, one day I just decided, what, she couldn't speak up or didn't feel empowered to speak up. So I marched myself to the office and said, I have a problem. I have this friend here that doesn't need to be eating her whole entire lunch. She should eat what she wants and do away with the rest. And from that day forward, that teacher was talked to in some shape or form. I don't know, but she no longer had to eat her lunch in that way. And because I chose to show her that I had compassion and that I listened to her needs, I was able to communicate them to a person of authority that could help us. And so I'm hoping that set with her for the rest of her life because third grade is long gone. And so I have no idea, where she ended up in life. But I would hope that she learned that she could speak up for herself in a future situation where something wasn't quite right for her.
Mm-hmm. No, that is amazing. I love that. I see two things that you did there. First of all, you became a champion for her. A person who couldn't speak up. I love that. I do that myself. Where you notice that people aren't able or aren't willing to be able to speak up or step up and have that conversation. So you took yourself upon it as a champion for her. That one was amazing. And then another thing I heard you say is that you took that that negative action or negative situation and took it to a person of authority, which is, something, again, at that age, people may not be able to do or willing to do. So thank you for bringing that to the table because there's some shining examples that people can use out there.
And what the interesting thing about that is I didn't even know, or it didn't even occur to me whether it was a right or wrong thing to do. I was at that place where I just felt comfortable in who I was and that I was going to make sure somebody else was.
And thank you for that because you know what, we need people who can step up like that. And again, we both seem to be people who can use our voice, but there are many people out there who aren't able to, and that's part of why I started what I do. Is what I knew, and I seen it on a poster once because it was probably about mental health, but I saw it on a poster where you need to be a voice for those who don't have any, and that started me on my empowerment journey. So I feel you. I understand where you're coming from. One of the things that keep us going, though, is our support system. You sound like you've had a very happy childhood. So tell us, what was your life like, maybe with your parents at that point?
Well, I believe that I have very good examples from both of my parents, both my mother and my father. And so my mother, I know as a person that would speak up for people, and she still does to this day. She has helped so many people in her personal and work life. And so she was a really good example. And I would say that my father, what I get from him is he's an excellent listener. He's very supportive. And so I can share about my life with him. And I know that he's really engaged in listening. And, I've done a lot of different things, and he's always asked questions of curiosity and been really interested in what it is that I do and why I do it. And so the two of them together, um, have been the models that I've followed, and they're very inspirational.
Absolutely. So, would you maybe delve deeper? We love the father relationship. It's very important to us. We like to talk to our men out there. Would you maybe tell us some of the influences, or the direct impact that you had with your father?
Absolutely. Well, I can remember a couple of things or conversations that we had, and one of them was about using my voice. And so you can tell that I have a lot of energy, and I usually am not short of having things to say. But there's one thing that when I was younger that I would do, and that was whenever I was speaking, I would speak so quickly because I always felt like I needed to share what needed to be said and then move out of the way for whoever else was speaking. And he said, "You know what? What you have to say is important. Take your time to share your message. You don't have to be in a space to hurry up for somebody else to have the next words." And the reason why this came up was because I was doing some new things. Remember, I'm this shy person that probably will articulate things more of on a one-to-one, but not necessarily in a group setting. And I was running for office. And so I was preparing my speech and putting all the things that go behind that so I could share a message and then have my student body vote on whether or not I would become the secretary. And so those words have always stuck with me during any speaking engagement that I have done or will do. And that's not being in such a hurry to deliver the message that I'm trying to move out of the way.
Well, and you sound like you've come a long way in that, because I remember, and I don't know if you saw, but my jaw dropped when you said the words your father said. Because believe it or not, my father had the same conversation with me, because I'm still fast in my delivery, but I've learned to deliver it in such a way that people hopefully are engaged with me. They hear what I'm saying, but I haven't been able to slow down. But I was able to change the way I deliver my message, right? Because prior to that, I used to get in trouble a lot for asking too many questions or being too inquisitive, and people didn't want to deal with me. So my father had to have a similar conversation. You have something important to say. So find a way to slow down and deliver it so people can hear you. The similarities between and I are so amazing. I'm impressed here today. So now let's move a little forward, though. Have you always been this happy? Have you ever had situations in your life that aren't pleasing, that aren't exactly that we would enjoy or want in our lives?
I think I can say with certainty that yes, there's been some difficult times, and I've been in some difficult times where people had to help me find my voice, to find ways that I could express myself and move forward. And actually, that situation was one of working in a toxic work environment, and that experience. Well, it was very difficult, and finding my voice was very hard. What I was able to do was to at least talk to some trusted people, and they were able to take me out into a space where I could actually talk about my experience and help other people. And to this day, I speak to so many people that are in toxic situations and they don't really see options for getting out of them. And I share with them that there are options. They may or may not be viable, but you got to keep looking and have hope that you can move forward, because once you can do that, that situation, as hard as it is, it will get better.
So, I mean, you were a little vague there, and we only encourage you to open up as much as you're willing. But are you able and willing to share with people what that toxic situation is? We like for people to see similarities in their lives and maybe learn from something from that. So, if you are willing, would you be open to sharing that with people?
Absolutely, because if I don't be willing to open up and share and go a little bit deeper, then it's a little hard for me to ask that other people would do the same. And
Right.
so what it was a work situation. It was a supervisor that for whatever reason decided that the situation was at hand, that it was hard for them to handle. So they started projecting to me, and so it became a situation where it didn't really feel like there was cooperation. There was some passive aggressive activity happening, and through that situation, it was so hard to come to work and not have my whole body be out of sorts. And so, whenever the person would speak, this person of authority would speak to me, it would put me into a lurch, whether or not they were actually taking me down a path that was a difficult conversation, or they wanted to press upon me that they needed something in a certain way and made it difficult for me to get there. All of these things happened. And so I talk a lot about being able to speak up to authority. So speaking up to authority for help, but then also you could be in a place of authority where you don't feel like you can say a whole lot or do things that can improve your situation. In my case, what I needed to do and how I coped was I did as little as possible to interact, and stayed in my own lane and did my own thing and just kept on going. That's what I had to do.
So you disengaged, truthfully.
Yes, I disengaged because I couldn't handle the emotional and physical stress of the situation. So I thought I just need to do the things to stay out of trouble, and I used that as the best way to really describe it. That was the feeling that I had. I need to stay
Mm.
out of trouble, do my thing, get my work done, and decide whether or not I could speak to the person and change the relationship so we could continue to work together, or if I needed to exit the organization.
So, what did you decide? How did you manage that?
So what I did was I probably stayed more in that lane of being disengaged. But what I did was I found ways that slowly I could speak up for what it was that I needed in the situation in a way to get through. And eventually this person ended up moving on. And so that isn't always what happens. Sometimes you have to leave. And I tried to do that too. Um, and so that was I exercised the different options to see what could happen. And honestly, I'm glad that I stayed. I have a much different situation now. And because I went through that experience, as tough as it was, I came out so much more stronger and resilient that I can help people in a very similar situation and do.
hmm Absolutely. Look, you know what? I believe you're not alone in that situation. And I don't want to put a number or percentage to it, but there are numerous people in that situation where they're trying to survive a job, where they're trying to just hide in the background and not get in trouble, not, you know, be known for or deal with the situation that's going on at work. So um, you did find a resolve for it, but also it sounds like you did have to suffer a little bit, and I regret that for anybody. But I mean, and now I speak for myself when I'm on this show. I'm the host. I don't speak for Voice of Men 360, but I do have three beliefs that or three things that people can do in a situation like that. One, they can accept it as it is. You know what I mean? Deal with it, suffer it, whatever. Learn to accept it, and then you'll be happy with the situation. If you can't accept it, you can try and change the environment. You did in a certain degree to the fact that you just didn't, engage with the supervisor or tried to avoid the supervisor. And then if you can't make other those accept and change, you got to leave the situation. So it sounds like you did those three things in this situation, and eventually this person moved on and you didn't have to move on, because to give up your life and move on, that's a tough one for most people out there. So um, you know it's hard to say, oh, accept it or change it, but these are your choices. So I think you made a valiant decision. Whether it's the right one, you'll never know, but it's, how you had to endure, right?
And you're right. There are so many people that go through that. And that's the process that I take them through. Or these are the three different things that you just articulated, because a lot of times people will only see one option, and
Mm-hmm.
that's to be miserable. I'm like, no, you don't have to be miserable. There are some things that may take a little while. You have hope. And, you know, talking to a professional or talking to someone that does coaching on how to move through that situation, I did that. I had a coach that I was able to talk to, and we would come up with options and strategies. And then I mean, for me, that situation right there was one of the best things I ever had. And one of the reasons why I'm a coach today is because I saw the value in speaking to somebody that was outside my situation, that wasn't a friend, a family member, or a coworker.
Right, because these are all people who are invested in our life in some way, right? They may not want to offend us, or we may not want to burden them with our personal information. So going outside, we can get maybe answers, or be more open than we would be with our own kin, right?
Exactly.
So as an empowerment coach, you got into empowerment coaching. How long have you been a coach at this point?
Since 2018 as a part-time coach.
Okay, so it's a few years. How many have you been dealing with our youth or young men in any way?
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting that you asked that, because I also like to mentor young individuals, young men, into being able to explore and discover different pathways of things that they could do. And so that could be running a podcast show, that could be learning about business, it could become, be about becoming a coach, all these different things. And so that has always been an area that has appealed to me. And it's because of why your organization exists. And that's having that voice and to talk about feelings. I'm able to, for whatever reason, show up powerfully in that way. And because I can do that, we can go a long ways into opening up, to going into exploration, and really getting empowered to go out and do a lot of great things in the world.
Without a doubt. Thank you very much for everything you do for our young men. So can you maybe give us some of the examples that our young men have had to endure?
So one of the things that comes to mind as I'm visualizing one of my podcast guests, he was an individual in the school, in high school, and he wasn't always making the best choices, but he really wanted to go and serve in the military. He knew that from a young age. That's what he wanted to do. And, the whole um, not finishing high school and then going right into the military, that's not necessarily a popular pathway. The mainstream way to move through would have been that he would have graduated, then decided to enlist. But he told me something really interesting. He told me that his parents wanted to preserve the relationship they had with him and to have him be successful moving forward. So they supported him in doing that. And one of the things that I told him was that there's more than one way to do something. And the way that you have chosen to go, that may not be everybody's choice. It may not be the choice of society, but this is your choice. And if you know that's what you want to do, I gave him acknowledgement for voicing what it is he wanted to do, working with his parents to make all these things line up. And he's quite happy now that he made that decision. And so, letting people know that there's more than one pathway. And just because somebody else or society thinks you should go down a certain way, you don't have to follow that. You can follow your own heart, your own voice, and go do what you need to do. And the same thing happens too when you're picking a career. Let's say your parents may have an idea of what they'd like to see you do, but at the end of the day, As much as your parents love you and want you to be successful, you have to decide what career you want to do, because you're the one that's going to have to do that. And so I think that that was, you know, two different areas that young men might struggle with.
Hmm. Absolutely. Totally agree. And now I'm not going to add my 2 cents on this one because I want to hear your opinion. So what do we do for them? What should they do at that point? Or this young man who was facing this situation, how does he face that? How does he step into it?
Yes, I actually thought he did a really good job stepping into it. And that's because he voiced this to his parents. He decided and made a plan. He followed through with the plan. And because he listened to himself, and because he thought enough of being able to be safe in the conversations he was having to make what he wanted to happen, then he was able to not be alone in his decision making. And he built that support system that ultimately helped him in his journey.
Wonderful. Absolutely. That's exactly. You know, we have choices. And those choices may not be what other people would want for you, right?
Mhm.
But those choices that you are going to make are your own. My kids are young adults now, and listen, I was tough on them till they got to adulthood. But like I, forced their not necessarily forced their hands, but pushed them in certain directions because as a parent, it's my job to guide them. But at the same time, now that they're young adults, I'm only a guide now. You know what I mean? I can offer you some suggestions, but their choices are their own, right? So um, it's hard for people to make those decisions. If they can't make decisions like that, how would they find resolve? What do they do at that point?
Well, there's a couple of things they could do. So, being that they could be younger and need someone of experience, they could go to a guidance counselor and say, I really could use some help talking through some things. They could find a pastor that they could talk to. They could find a friend of the family that maybe they trust. So, I guess where I'm headed here is find someone you feel comfortable speaking with that has a little bit of life experience, or at least someone that might know how to have access to some other resources. So, those are just a few of the ways.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for that. Because again, our young men and boys, they need some guidance. They need some help. They need to understand that the journey is not all their own, and there's other people who want to help them out there. So, what we're going to start to end the show, and I have a few questions that I like to ask at the end of the show. The first one is there ever a good time to open up? And if so, when?
That's a really good question there. And so, I always think you should live in an opened up sense or state. And so, the thing about opening up is you have to make sure that who you're opening up to is also receptive for you doing that. And the reason why I say that, and the reason why most people don't want to open up, is because they may have had an experience where they've opened up in not the right place. So it could have been in a place that really didn't end up having the safety that they were looking for, or it was someone that didn't have the capacity or willingness to be able to have that conversation. So when you're opening up, you want to look that it's a safe place, and you want to ask the person if it would be okay and to open up and they'd be willing to have that conversation. I think that that's the key thing there.
For sure. Look, we want to be able to, know that our family's got our back, but they don't always have our best interests at heart, right? So you may not get the responses that you want. I'd like to think we've created an open environment here in our home. Our kids do come to us with the situations that they're dealing with in life. So, have we done the best for our kids? I don't know. They'll know down the road. But I mean, again, we've tried to create an environment where they come to us so we can help guide them through their journey. So I'd like that for everybody out there. But what do we do, or what can our young men do to empower their own lives?
I love where you're going with this, and I have to share that I have two sons. And so, all of these things that I'm talking about, I model the way for my sons. I show them how to take those steps. And the career exploration, I've been doing that with my 16-year-old son. He graduates next year. And so, being able to do that is really important. And you hit upon something really important. And as a parent, we always have good intentions, but we can't always tell the way. We need to guide and match up resources or experiences where our sons can have that exposure, make those decisions, and then the beautiful part is they have our support no matter how they
With that,
choose.
yeah, and because the choice is theirs, no matter what. So thank you for that. Because again, there's people out there who, maybe hopefully if they hear this, they realize, and I'm talking to the adults, the mature adults here who, are raising our young children. Maybe they might open their eyes at this point and say, you know what, maybe I've been too harsh on my child. Maybe I'm not guiding him in the right direction. So thank you for those words. Because again, we're not always doing the right thing, even though we think we're doing the best thing for them in that situation. So thank you. That's great advice. And then, so what can we do as a society to help empower our young men on this journey?
So, really, the empowerment of our young men on this journey is to let them know that they're supported, we want the best for them, and continue to open up and speak to what it is that you want and find out if there's ways that we can support you in making that happen. Because chances are, if you're speaking up and asking for something, there's going to be that person that is willing to give you that support, connect you with resources, and be that person that can check in with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was Linda Tilson. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being willing to share your life journey and all the guidance you've offered today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. So again, we want to encourage people out there to open up and being willing to share their life struggles and challenges. So this has been an amazing show where you've gotten some great advice. So thank you very much for Linda for joining us today and for being willing to open up and share her journey. So I have a few announcements. This probably might be the last time I tell you that we are hosting a Indigenous or self-care for Indigenous men. This is a special campaign where we're collecting goods that are needed for our young men, especially in our Indigenous community. So we've decided to step up and help support. We're looking for things like deodorants, razors, socks, hand towels. If you have anything to donate, whether that be gift cards or you're willing to donate to us directly, please reach out to us. If you want to transfer any funds, that will, again, we are carrying this on to our community. Please send it to info@voiceofmen360.org. And again, we want to collect and coordinate those goods, or call us 416-356-7414, or our phone number 437-889-8329. And then email us at info@voiceofmen360.org, or connect us with us on Facebook Messenger. And we're working to collect those goods. We have a few live shows here in Voice of Men 360. The first of which you just participated in is called Open Up, where we invite people to share their personal life journey. And so thank you for that. This is our live talk show. It takes place Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then we have the same thing in Tamil language called Vili, which means I. And thank you. That will join us for that one. That's Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern time. We also host a monthly webinar the first Saturday of every month at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, where we bring out the expertise from different organizations to discuss a particular topic of interest to them and, of course, of interest to our community. We host a special program we call the Unspoken Tears. That's the second Saturday of every month from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. The focus is domestic violence against men, bullying, male sexual abuse trauma, porn addictions, and human trafficking. These are topics that affect our men, and we talk about them here. We also co-host a show with the all Bengal men's forum called the South Asian Men's Show. This is the third Sunday of every month from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where we will specifically focus on the issues faced by South Asian men, where we invite different countries to come out and talk about their discussion, talk about their issues. We host a program called the Authors Circle, where we bring individuals who've been contributing to the well-being of boys and men through their writing, articles, media, and help recognize them and appreciate them. That's the third Saturday of every month from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then we turn all of our content into podcast episodes, so please look out for that on all of your favorite platforms, iPhone, Google Play, Spotify, and more. And then we host some support groups here within our community. The first one I'm proud of is called Open Up Men's Peer Group, and it is based on this program where we invite you to open up about your struggles, open up about your issues, and just relieve the burden. Just have a conversation with somebody to help you feel a little bit better about the things that you're going through in your life. And having somebody support you, that's truly beneficial. So this one is for men only. It really is to help support our men and boys. So Open Up Men's Peer Group. Join us for that 6 to 7:30 p.m. on every second Tuesday. Please join and register through Zoom. And then we host a Indigenous peer-to-peer support group. This one we call Pass the Talking Stick. This one takes place the fourth Friday of every month from 6 to 7 p.m. through Zoom. And please, again, register for that one on Zoom. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life are invited to participate in our programming. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be a part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, governments, corporations, and more. Please reach out to us. Our phone number again is 437-889-8329. info@voiceofmen360.org if you want to email us, and that makes our website www.voiceofmen360.org. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on YouTube. And then please visit us at facebook.com/groups/voiceofmen360. We're still looking to increase our membership. We are approaching 3,000 members, but we're looking to get to 5,000 members. So please reach out, share the voice, share the message, so we can reach those 5,000 members in our community. And then, so again, we want to reach out and help more people. Please continue your support. Please continue to share the message. Thank you for joining us today. And till next time, I'm RJ Horner, Vice President of Voice of Men 360, and your host, asking you to open up.